Modern rallying is a sport where a strong will to succeed, as well as concentration, stamina, and a little bit of luck, all play their part. And whatever level of rallying you aim at, it helps to have a professional approach.
5, 4, 3, 2...
So how do you go rallying? Your first move should be to join a motor club and start by simply spectating. As a spectator, you'll have time to look around and decide which aspects of the sport interest you, and whether you fancy being the driver or co-driver. Try and start out as a marshal, which is probably the best way to get some early experience, because running a rally car is expensive, and you might find that this aspect of the sport gives you as much satisfaction. But the most glamorous job in rallying is, of course, the driving itself. Rally car layouts have changed in recent years. Until a few years ago, most teams were using front-engine, rear-drive chassis. But as modern car designs have evolved, there's been a swing towards front-wheel drive for groups A and M, while the top teams have adopted four-wheel drive in Group B. These new systems look set to dominate the scene, so you should learn how to drive the different types of car whenever and wherever you can. But whatever the car you plan to drive, you must read the appropriate regulations carefully. To be sure that your car conforms to all the technical regulations, you need more than just the homologation form. Every year, get hold of the latest copies of the FIA yearbook and any books issued by your national motoring organisation. Read through them and understand everything that applies to the rallying you're going to be doing, and ensure that your car is correct for the class you intend to enter. Whatever car you decide to prepare for motorsport, there are some basic rules which must be applied. Firstly, you must never skimp on the quality of the roll cage, because it's a lifesaver. And you should also get the most comfortable seats and full harness seat belts that you can afford. Important items, such as the jack, should be easy to get at and well fastened down. A good place to put the fire extinguisher and wheel brace, for instance, is in the footwell under the co-driver's legs, where they can be reached quickly in an emergency. In the boot, the spare wheel should be bolted down, but easy to remove in a hurry when it's needed. A place to store your crash helmets between special stages is essential. It protects them and stops them rolling around inside the car. Nothing should be allowed to fly about when you're on the move. Objects that are not securely fastened can float about, be damaged easily, and produce irritating noise which causes driver fatigue. Flying objects can even become lethal weapons in the event of an accident. You should spend as much time and money as you can on careful car preparation. Concentrate on making your car strong and safe before you start to make it faster. Always seek advice from experts in your chosen type of car, as they should know best. Don't even think about trying to cheat. The rules are strictly applied. Finally, on the subject of car preparation, you should ensure that the car is well presented, since this reflects both the quality of preparation in the car and your general attitude. And a well-turned-out car will naturally help influence your potential sponsors. Apart from preparing your car, you'll need to prepare yourself too. So make sure you're fit, both physically and mentally. Proper protective clothing is vital. Safety is the major reason, but a smart appearance also counts. The car and its crew should be presentable and promotable, as well as safe. This underwear is not particularly designed for warmth. The polo neck and long johns provide about 30 seconds of fire protection. Overalls can be bought in various colors and specifications. Generally, the more layers of fireproofing, the more resistant they will be. A really good warm rally jacket will also be handy. Crash helmets are graded and can either be open or full face. The higher the grade, the safer they are, and each has an approval sticker with an expiry date. Whatever helmet you use, don't paint it, as this can weaken it considerably. A built-in intercom system is a very good idea if you can afford it. Good soft-soled shoes are best and shouldn't have anything which can catch on the pedals. And finally, get a bag to carry and protect your kit, and it makes sense to insure everything. So let's sum up the preparation side. Read all the regulations as well as any appropriate yearbooks. Be methodical and draw up lists of work to be done. This will save time and money. Never skimp on safety, and don't let items float about inside the car. Don't cut corners on helmets or clothing. Get the best you can afford. Keep fit. Be presentable and promotable. It may help you get sponsors. And finally, send your entries in plenty of time. Now let's look at the driver's right-hand man, his co-driver. Whether you want to co-drive or you're looking for a co-driver to sit alongside you, it's important to know his responsibilities. The co-driver has a unique and vital role in any rally team. He has to look after all the paperwork, and there's certainly a lot of that before and after every event. He's responsible for all the important documents, such as driving licenses and competition licenses, as well as the car's insurance certificate, and most important of all, the latest edition of the homologation form. In other words, he's the office manager. So a document folder becomes an important piece of equipment for a co-driver to ensure documents don't get lost on events. The co-driver doesn't need much equipment inside the car, though a good map light and door pocket in which to stow the maps and time cards is essential. Make sure the maps don't fall out when you open the door, though. Always have up-to-date maps. The co-driver should mark the route on his maps so that the different types of section are clear. On this Michelin sheet, the special stages have been shaded red, in contrast to the main roads which link them. After the rally, the co-driver should keep the maps safe, along with other route notes you've made or kept. They may be useful on the same event another year. Service crews should be given clear instructions, exactly when and where to be, and how far they must drive to their next service point. Don't set over-ambitious schedules for service crews. This can be dangerous. Stress that they should avoid litter and other public annoyances. As you progress in rallying, you may start using pace notes on special stages. They, above all, should be easy to read and understand, as the co-driver will be using them to give the driver precise details of the road ahead. With experience, and hopefully more success, you'll find it important to keep a check on the performance of your rivals. That way you can pace yourselves properly for each event. Remember, there's no need to go faster than necessary. To summarize the job of the co-driver, he must be responsible for all the relevant paperwork, be responsible for reading the pace notes and maps, and ensuring that the car, its crew and service team are in the right place at the right time, and finally for logging the stage times and checking against the competition.
8:49.
So we've looked at the types of car that are available, the preparation of the car, and the responsibilities of the co-driver. But at the end of the day, it is the skill and technique of the driver that brings success. As we said earlier, there's been a swing towards front-wheel drive for rallying in groups A and N. So let's look at the techniques for driving a front-wheel drive car. Firstly, the start. A poor start will inevitably lead to poor stage times. Here, the driver has used too much power, and because of the loose surface, is spinning the wheels. He has little traction, and his getaway is slow and untidy. This time, the driver, conscious of the conditions, feeds the power in progressively, and, whilst undramatic, completes a much more effective start. As important as starting quickly is effective and controlled braking. Locking the wheels like this is inefficient. It causes excessive tyre wear and a loss of car control. Properly done, the driver controls the braking effort, bringing the car to a halt in a substantially shorter distance and retains full control. But the key to good stage times is the speed through corners. Let's see how you should tackle corners in a front-wheel drive car. Firstly, on a tarmac special stage. The green trace shows the correct racing line for a left-hand bend, approached from the bottom right of the picture. You should try to drive deep into the bend before starting to turn the car. Look for a late clipping point and you'll have a straight, smooth exit line. Let's follow that step by step. Approach the corner using as much of the road as you can. Then at this point, you should start your braking. Do so in a straight line and finish braking by this point, but don't turn in yet. Get the car nicely balanced, and at this point, turn in smoothly using as little steering lock as possible. By here, you'll see what we call the gate opening and be able to apply power. Here is the ideal clipping point, and see how we use the full width of the road on the exit. That is the right way to go round the corner, but contrast that smooth line with this, which is the wrong way that inexperienced drivers use. They turn in much too early and get trapped on the inside with an early clipping point. They need more and more lock and develop more and more understeer, finishing up on the outside of the road, very untidily positioned and still unable to get the power on. That's the theory. Now let's look at it in practice. On a loose surface, the same basic rules apply. But in addition, you must get the car sliding. Once you start turning in, get the car's back end sliding, keeping the front wheels as straight as possible, to set it up for a straight line exit through the apex of the corner. It's important that you don't get a front-wheel drive car into an oversteering attitude by sliding the back of the car too much, or you could go off the outside of the bend. Again, let's see that in practice. Earlier, we said that when cornering, you should not begin to turn in until you saw the gate opening. Let's explain what this means. As you approach this corner, you can see the road goes left, but not by how much. The gate is still closed. By this point, you can see much further round the corner, and your angle of vision is improving. The gate is opening. So now is the moment to turn in. Near the apex of the corner, you can see that the next corner goes right, so keep well over to the left to be correctly placed for it. Here, you'll see the next gate opening. In other words, you'll get a better view of the next exit, so you can start to line up for a smooth clipping point and a fast exit up the road. Those then are the principles for fast open bends. But the tight corner requires one further skill, the use of the handbrake. To turn a car sharply, you apply a flick of the handbrake. Unfortunately, too much power is used, which produces an untidy exit. But this time, the flick of the handbrake and careful use of power produces a fast corner. Use of the handbrake on tarmac is not always appropriate. Watch how the first car through doesn't use the handbrake and makes a quick exit, whilst the second driver does use the handbrake, which unbalances the car and it loses momentum. This leads us to the use of the foot brake on a front-wheel drive car whilst cornering. The general rule on tarmac is don't. Braking whilst cornering at its extreme can result in this. On loose surfaces, however, the use of the left foot for braking whilst keeping the power applied with the right foot is fundamental for competitive times in front-wheel drive cars, but is not an easy technique, and you should tackle it only after the basics have been mastered. If we now compare the attitudes of the three different types of car through the same series of bends, we see, firstly, the rear-wheel drive car showing its oversteer and use of opposite lock. Secondly, the front-wheel drive car, with its understeer under power and its front wheels straight. And finally, the four-wheel drive car. Again with understeer, it, like the front-wheel drive, requires that left foot braking technique. If we now go on and contrast that understeering attitude to the new generation of four-wheel drive cars with their mid-engine configuration, you can see how these now tend towards oversteer through the corners, calling up the old skills of swinging the pendulum and opposite lock. Let's summarize the driving techniques for front-wheel drive cars. Think about the start of a stage and control the application of power. However hard you brake, make sure you remain in command. Whenever you corner, look for the gate opening and your racing line. On loose surfaces, drift the rear of the car out without going to oversteer. Practice use of the handbrake for sharp corners. Learn how to left foot brake as your proficiency improves. Never forget, however good you are, you can still learn. Look how neat, tidy, controlled and fast this car is. Now see how hard the second driver is trying, but this has led to an untidy line, a greater risk of punctures, and he's much slower despite the drama. Untidy driving like that can cause further problems. Here the driver swings the pendulum too far. The rear wheels catch in the soft mud and the engine stalls. But at least the driver remains calm, restarts the engine and is away with the minimum of fuss. Whatever the situation, you must remain calm and in command. A simple error, such as a spin, can take only seconds to recover from, or valuable minutes. Be aware of surface water. See how this Escort suddenly aquaplanes, and the driver has to be in full command to regain control. Even a major problem like a roll can be recovered from with a little help from marshals and spectators. But, and this is important, how much quicker he could have been back into the rally if either the driver or co-driver had taken charge of the situation and coordinated the efforts of bystanders. If it happens to you, take command and tell them what you want done. Even when there appears to be no way to finish, never, never give up. The rally is not over until the last car is home. See how a calm, considered approach brings a solution and gets the car going, sufficiently to finish the stage and reach a service point. Whatever the pressures, and there are plenty in rallying, keep calm. If you can do that, you have a strong will to succeed. And if you can really concentrate and you've got the stamina, you'll succeed at rallying.